Hi there, I'm Dalton Ruhr. I'm a Senior Solution Architect here at Qlik, and today I continue my series on SaaS enablement to help you get the most out of your SaaS tenant. One of the brand new exciting features that I'm sure you're aware of is Qlik Application Automation. Basically, it's a way to allow you to create workflows to do things. Well, there's an awful lot of videos about flows created to do things within Qlik or respond to Qlik events like loading applications and responding to that. One of the areas I haven't seen a demo for is how to pull data out of Qlik as part of the automation so that you could embed that into something else. So I figured, why not go ahead and use that as our example of something to build? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say add new, and I could add an app. Of course, I could upload an app. We can create notes for comments, things like that. What I'm going to do is do this new automation, and that's how we get started creating an application automation. And I'm going to say that I want to read some values, and I can give it as much information as I want, and I simply press save. And what it's going to do is it's going to take me to this makerspace now so that I can get started in building a flow. You can see that I could connect to other things if I want to take actions in other things, but I'm actually going to use Qlik Cloud Services so that I can read some Qlik data. And what I'm looking for here is get measure value, and all I do is drag that. You notice that as I start dragging it, that little blue icon starts appearing so that I have my flow. Now at this point I can give it an application ID, and as you know, in the URL you would have the application IDs, or I could just do a lookup here and find the application that I'm looking for. I'm specifically interested in my environmental services application. And the neat thing there, you can see that I can see what that app ID is, or I could have just pasted it, but I kind of like looking it up. It's a little bit easier on me. Then I can pick any master measure that is in my system. So all I got to do is scroll down through here and find some information. Well, this particular application is really a healthcare oriented thing, and we're looking at the turnaround time in that application to get the patients flowing through the hospital and being discharged and getting the rooms cleaned after movement transfers or discharges. And so I'm just going to pick that average turnaround time minutes. Easy breezy, right? Well, what am I going to do with that then? Because that's just a part of a workflow. So I can come back out of my Qlik Cloud connector and just look at some basic things like outputs. Yeah, that's what I want to do. And so I'm going to drag that output down here, and it automatically assumes that the data I want to output is the measure value that was returned as part of this flow. Now I can do that with anything. Could have picked any measure. We happen to pick the average length of time to turn around the room. And let me just go ahead and press run to test this. And you notice that I get an output of that time. Well, I'm going to come back to the editor because at this point, what I want to do is say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to like come out here and run this manually. That's crazy. I'm not going to edit the thing and run it all the time. So what I want to do is I'm going to say, no, it's not triggered manually. I want to trigger this from some other type of a workflow. So I want to embed this automation and the ability to go get that Qlik data out of my application automatically within something else. Well, as soon as I change it to triggered, here's where it gets really cool. It simply gives me the URL to use, including the token needed for authentication. And so I simply come down in here and I copy this guy. And now I'm going to go to something like Postman, and I've created a new one. And all I'm going to do is simply paste that URL that you get directly out of the automation itself. And I post that in there. And notice that as I do that, Postman automatically takes this token piece and pulls that aside separately. And I'm just going to press run here, because if you're used to running anything with Postman, you'll know that you just post these things in here and you get results, and it says queued. Well, queued isn't 76. It's not a number. It's telling me I got to think about that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here, because one of the things I did was I set this up, but I never press save. And so it has no idea what to do with that. Well, now I'm going to press save, and once it tells me it's saved, now I can come back and press send, and you notice now I get a number. So I did that on purpose so that if you ever do this and you're in a rush to try to implement this get data out of Qlik automation, and you see that queued, you'll know, oh gosh, you know what, I probably didn't press save. And so now that I get that number and I'm good to go. I could use this URL as a call within any other type of a workflow, and I'm in business. Well, let's go ahead. We've saved it. Let's go ahead and close this. And I'm going to come back to my main screen here, because I want to show you how would you get to that automation if you ever want to make a change to it. Well, if I look at my catalog, I see everything by default. What I can do is I can narrow my canvas here down to just automations. And I've got this read some values that we just created. And I've also got, ooh, geez, read some environmental services automation. That's probably the one I did in order to test and prepare myself for this particular video. But I can go and open that automation, and I go back to edit. And if I were to choose a different measure, I can just come in here and choose any measure that I want, and then press save again and make the changes. And so that's how you would go about editing one that you already have, or seeing the ones that you have. The other place that you can maintain these is through the Management Console. And so now when you go to the Management Console, you will get to see all of the automations, this massive giant list of all the automations by all of the authors. And you'll see I've got my old automation, and I've got the one that I did for this video. You can change ownership in here if you end up wanting to do that. And you can also see the history of it and when it was called, so that you'll know that it's being triggered. If you end up needing to disable any one of these automations at any point, you can also manage this here, but you can't edit them from here. You've got to edit them from your console in the manner I showed you. Hope you have great time actually getting that next step beyond just analyzing the data into actually taking actions, and hope this video helps you a little bit if you're in the situation where you're trying to read things out of Qlik and wanted to understand how to do that. Have a great day, y'all.